The U.S. military's youngest heroes. Courage and sacrifice have no age. America's military history is rich with tales of bravery and sacrifice. From General George Washington leading his troops across the icy Delaware River during the Revolutionary War to PFC Desmond Doss rescuing dozens of wounded troops on Hacksaw Ridge during World War II, generations of men and women have answered the call to defend liberty. But not all heroes in U.S. military history were adults. In fact, the youngest Medal of Honor recipient was only 13 years old, and another heroic soldier enlisted at just 9. Their stories remind us that courage knows no age. Heroes come in all ages. William Willie Johnston wasn't just any 11-year-old. In 1861, after his father enlisted in the Union Army when the Civil War broke out, the young resident of Vermont refused to be left behind. He begged to go along, and somewhat shockingly, the officer agreed. Johnston joined the Army Musicians in D Company of the 3rd Vermont Volunteer Infantry Regiment. 1 year later, during the 7 Days Battles fought between June 25th and July 1st, 1862, Johnston's dedication to his service left a mark on U.S. military history. When General George B. McClellan's Peninsula Campaign to capture Richmond, Virginia failed, Confederate General Robert E. Lee forced the Union Army back. During the Union retreat, many soldiers abandoned their weapons and equipment to lighten their loads, including regimental musicians, but not Johnston. When the exhausted Union troops finally regrouped, Johnston was the only drummer in his division who still had his drum. His dedication didn't go unnoticed. To lift the men's spirits, Johnston was asked to play for the entire division. News of the young drummer's courage eventually reached President Abraham Lincoln, who personally recommended him for the newly established Medal of Honor. On September 16, 1863, Secretary of War Edwin Stanton presented the award to Willie Johnston, who was just 13 years old at the time. Johnston remains to this day the youngest Medal of Honor recipient in American history. Like Johnston, another young boy also answered the call to serve during the Civil War. At just 9 years old, Ohio resident John Clem attempted to join the newly formed 3rd Ohio Infantry but was turned away. Refusing to give up, Clem approached the 22nd Michigan, which agreed to let him follow the regiment as its unofficial drummer boy. Because Clem was unable to officially enlist until 1863, the officers paid his $13 monthly salary themselves. Clem's bravery shone during the Battle of Chickamauga. On September 20, 1863, armed with a sawed-down musket, Clem helped the 22nd Michigan defend Horseshoe Ridge. When Confederate forces advanced, a colonel noticed Clem and reportedly demanded he drop that gun, calling him a damned little Yankee devil. But young Clem refused to surrender and shot the colonel before returning to Union lines. For his courage, Clem was promoted to sergeant, becoming the youngest non-commissioned officer in United States Army history. Today, Clem is remembered as the drummer boy of Chickamauga. According to the Library of Congress, a letter written during the Civil War highlights Clem's heroic actions. I will tell you a story of a little boy who once lived in Michigan. His name is John Clem. Johnny's father and mother died, leaving him a poor boy without friends and without money. And when this war broke out, he was enlisted by some officer as a drummer boy. He was only 10 years old. He came to Kai with his regiment, marched when his company marched, and always rose early in order to beat his drum to awake all the men for reveille. He was a good boy, always obeyed his captain, and always tried to do his duty like a man. Being a good boy, everyone liked him, because good boys always have a great many friends. He had many. Last summer, his drum was broken by some accident, and poor Johnny often cried because he had no drum to beat. But he always kept up with this company in either hot or cold weather, and often he had to sleep on the cold, damp ground without a blanket. he has no good bed like General Johnson's boys. At the Battle of Chickamauga, he was told to stay in rear and not go into the battle, but he was very anxious to see how men fight, so he kept up, and soon a soldier was killed, and Johnny took his gun and loaded and fired it. His regiment was soon driven back, but Johnny would not run. He stood by a tree, and presently a rebel colonel with several orderlies came up to him. The col said, "You little Yankee, throw down your gun and surrender." He replied, "Johnny Clem never surrenders," and at the same time fired and killed the colonel, and then escaped and joined his regiment. As soon as his colo heard of the gallant conduct of Johnny, he made him a sergeant, and I saw him yesterday, stepping around, giving orders as big as if he were grown. He wears the sergeant's chevron, but he looks like a very small soldier. He is studying to qualify himself for West Point, and General Thomas says he will send him there as soon as he is old enough. Johnny will make a great man some of these days, and so will any boy who is obedient and faithful in the performance of his duty. The youngest Medal of Honor recipient in United States history was just 13 years old. The youngest person ever to enlist in the U.S. Army was 9 years old. Both William Johnston and John Clem served as drummer boys during the Civil War.